Here, in the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, in Section C, Site 166, a stone marks the grave of a World War II silent hero. He has a story that cannot be told through the simple carved words of his name, a life lived with intentional optimism, hard work, and brave service. The soldier buried here never forgot for whom he was fighting. Private First Class Emory Alexander Brown grew up on a farm in Virginia with his parents and several younger siblings, went to school, and learned to hunt and trap. As a young adult during the Great Depression, Brown moved to North Carolina for work. Person County hosted a bustling agricultural community that raced into the modern age through new industry, and Brown found a job at the Longhurst Cotton Mill. By day, he served as a frame operator in the factory. By night, he lived in the J. A. Long Mill Village, a small community of its own. Family surrounded him once again when he married a local girl, Nancy Carver, and relatives joined him from Virginia. Several years later, another move would take Brown's life in a different direction. The 1940 Selective Service Act passed during a period of tenuous peace for the United States as World War II unfolded. Brown registered that fall and continued his work at the cotton mill. The attack on Pearl Harbor soon shattered that peace, and 2 years later, his name appeared in the draft lottery. PFC Brown entered the U.S. Army Signal Corps at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, then received training at Drew Army Airfield in Florida. He shipped out to the Pacific Theater in 1943 with the 710th Signal Air Warning Company, which became Company A of the 583rd Signal Air Warning Battalion that autumn. PFC Brown participated in the important mission of identifying incoming enemy air raids with advanced radar equipment. The work of PFC Brown and his fellow servicemen warned the local fighter sectors and aided their preparation for attacks, giving the U.S. Army a tactical advantage alongside providing defense. His company followed the Allied front north along the eastern coast of New Guinea as they regained territory from the Japanese. While signal air warning work is often overshadowed by the more dramatic stories of the war, it was the vigilance of soldiers like PFC Brown who enabled significant offensive strategies to be completed more safely and effectively. Even while overseas, PFC Brown remained devoted to fun and family. He made the best of military life in the jungle by keeping up with news from home, joking around with the fighter pilots, and watching the local wildlife. Letters from his family provided a treasured tie to the life he left behind. He replied as often as he could, even writing specifically to his young nieces. He spoke little of the war, but shared his hope that the fighting would stop, and he and his fellow soldiers would return home safely. On August 29, 1944, PFC Brown believes that his hope seemed closer to coming true. "We have the name of being a lucky company," he wrote to his sister-in-law Mary. "I sure hope that our luck holds out and most of us can get back." He added, "Tell Frank not to catch all the minks this season." PFC Brown spoke of sending money to his mother and seashells to his family. With bravery in the line of duty, he said, "We have to go on before we come home." The next morning, PFC Brown departed New Guinea with several unit members for authorized leave in Queensland, Australia. For the first time in 2 years of service, he was temporarily relieved of his duties and expressed excitement to leave the jungle and experience how the local civilians lived. While on leave a week later, PFC Brown mounted a horse for an afternoon ride, but his trip had a tragic ending. The horse threw him, and he landed too hard. An ambulance took PFC Brown to the hospital, where he received treatment for severe injuries. Despite the staff's best efforts, PFC Brown lost his life 3 days later, on September 9, 1944. Though Private First Class Emory Brown did not live to see his dream of peace realized, he contributed to the victory and deserves to be remembered. Whether called Uncle Emory or Private First Class Brown, whether working in the mill or the military, he made the most of every day. His legacy remains as the last known words written to his family. As ever, with love to all, your brother, Emory A. Brown.